Hey guys, I know there's probably about 2 dozen Honda Accord videos on YouTube right now, but this one is going to be my personal impressions of the 2018 Honda Accord. Now this is the 2.0 turbo touring model. I want to give you a nice 360. The side profile, I really like that. It's comparable to the previous ninth generation. These taillights, I think that this is something they'd probably have to update in the mid-model refresh. Kind of reminds me of a stapler there. The wheels on this touring, very aggressive. I like these, the 19-inch wheels. I had the 2017 Touring V6, and that also had 19-inch wheels. Now, on the video, I will do my impressions from what I like about this car as compared to that 2017 Touring. Here's another element on the front that people have made comments about, this little chrome strip. Still like it, it's pretty aggressive on the front. So I'll give you guys just a overview of the new tech, the new features of the 2018 versus the 2017. And then I'll throw in some driving impressions as well. I'll try to make this as nice and condensed as possible. If you guys have any comments and questions, just leave them down below. Appreciate you guys checking out the video. All right, guys, let's talk about the interior of the 2018 Honda Accord. I want to highlight the major differences between this and the previous ninth generation. First and foremost is this infotainment system. This is now an 8-inch tablet. This is your navigation, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. You've got physical buttons now for volume and tuning as opposed to touchscreen. A lot of information has been put on this side in front of the driver. You can select from different options, lots of data to be retrieved from here. I like the heads-up display. On the right side is the MPH. On the left, you can change that, tachometer, speed sign. It'll also give you the next turn on your navigation. You also have got the blind spot monitoring added for the 2018. Then we have the climate controls are now radial dials instead of up and down buttons. This button right here is for ventilated seats. Doesn't work quite as good as I'd like it to be. This is a wireless charging center. I use this Apple 8 phone, and I've noticed it doesn't really gain any percentage points, but it does stabilize it. You can always use the USB to get faster charging. Gear shift is now all electronic. Parking brake, electronic. This is a brake hold button, which when you hit that at a stoplight, the car will hold in place so you can rest your right foot. You've also got the paddle shifters for the 2018. Now, I'm old school, traditional manual, so I really haven't put those into use, but it's not a hindrance. You don't accidentally hit it at any point. I want to show you the cubby hole. Lots of stuff in there, about 8 inches deep. The audio system has been improved from 6 speakers to 12. Don't necessarily notice too much difference up front, but for the back seat, there definitely is an improvement. A couple other minor improvements. When you lock your car, or actually when you step away with the key fob, it'll automatically lock your doors for you. You don't have to touch it at all. And when you unlock, it'll unlock all 4 doors at once. So those are the highlights I wanted to point out as opposed to what you had in the 2017 Touring. All in all, I definitely like the streamlined version of this 2018. Lots of more room here in the center stack. Everything else is sort of carried over, moonroof, power seats. So all in all, pretty good bang for your buck. All right, so here we are here in the high country of Virginia, and the Accord is performing quite admirably. It's got enough pull to push it up. I've got it actually in the sport mode. And again, there's really a big difference in how this car picks up once you step on the gas compared to the Touring 17. So, it definitely gives you that sporty feel. And, we're hugging all these curves here. It handles that pretty good. There's a 35-mile-an-hour curve, and we're going about 10 over, and it's doing pretty well. So again, this is I think a improvement from the Touring Edition. And again, you should see in these windy roads, if you do take out the Accord, that it's going to give you a nice sporty feel, and I think you'll have fun with it. All right, back here again in the high country, another windy part of this trip. It's about recommended 20 miles an hour on these curves here, and again, you can see the heads-up display. I can manage about 7 or almost 10 miles over that 20-mile limit. So again, the car is performing well, and I think above standard, hugging these curves here in this windy road. And we're obviously ascending 1,993 feet and going upwards. So again, the car performs very well, very confidently, hugging these curves, and I think it'll give you a nice little sporty ride. So also, I wanted to point out on this Garmin GPS, you see how it's sort of 3D, and it shows you the trek of the path. If it's going uphill or downhill, it sort of hides the future path so you can prepare for it. But again, here we go. Let's put some speed here. Going up, let's see if we can get to 60. There we go. Now this is 35 up here. So let's see how fast I can go. Look at this curve right here. Let's see if we can navigate this. Yep. Now you hear the engine, that the roar is partly due to the sport mode that I've got it in. So I think it's also for audio's sake. The sport mode will give you a little bit more exhaust noise. Let's see how fast we can get here. Got to, what's that, 75? All right, so let me slow down, and we'll pick it up later on this country road. All right, so I wanted to give you a little bit of the driving experience sort of at dusk. And this is the navigation system after the light gets a little bit dimmer. But still on these windy country roads here, elevation 2,200 feet. Again, I'm actually in normal mode this time, and the car still, handles this like a champ, as the saying goes. So let's see, this is a 30-mile curve. Let's see how fast I can take this. Okay, yep, you hear that engine? And again, could I have done this with the V6? Probably so, but this turbo engine, it gives you that torque, right? It's that as soon as you put the foot on the gas, I mean, it just responds, and I think it would have just a quicker response than that V6 would, and it just sort of really is highlighted on these type of drives. And so I would definitely encourage, once you decide on getting this engine, the 2.0 turbo, take it up wherever you live and find a windy road and just put the car to work. I think you'll have a blast. I've enjoyed it this whole time. I think it looks like we're about 116 miles driving on this trip, and done all sorts of curves. And check out the MPG 32.3, and that's also including me leaving the car in idle and just sort of let it be in park with the engine on for 5 to 10 minutes at a time. So had I not done that, MPG would probably be around 35, which is awesome. I mean, the sticker on this says 32 for highway, so for me to get at least 32 on these windy roads and sort of pushing it here and there, I think it's awesome. And I applaud Honda for really giving us the best of both worlds. A great engine, lots of power, and still pretty fairly fuel efficient. So I will wrap this up. Again, this has been a pretty awesome drive as far as seeing what the car can do. And look at this, I'm going 67 on a 45, but don't tell anybody about that. So appreciate you guys watching this segment of the video. All right, guys, I wanted to focus on this Garmin navigation system for you guys while I'm driving, just to show basically the mechanics of it, how smooth it sort of flows, where the car marker is relative to the map. I'll try to keep this camera steady, but as you can see, it's got a load of information on this screen, and you just sort of have to focus on what you're wanting to read out of it. Now keep in mind, the heads-up display on the Touring also imports the turns, the upcoming turns that you have on that heads-up display, so it's very convenient in that form. But you can see this is, a lot of the information here is similar to the previous generation Garmin. This looks obviously a little bit better. It probably reminds you of the Google Map outlook, and it's nice and clean. I mean, it's probably a little wider screen than the previous generation as well. So I try to use it as much as I can, just because, you know, when you're up here in the high country, your Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, depending on what your carrier is, the signal is probably going to be insufficient for that to work as good as you need it to be. But here's a couple of minutes of just following this Garmin track, and I think it's done a pretty awesome job this whole time. All right, guys, so I wanted to just briefly make this section of the video giving you, and I'm not sure if it's going to come through via camera phone, but how quiet the car is. And this is what, about 65 miles an hour. I'm just going to be quiet for about 15 seconds and let you hear the noise or lack thereof. Now, the road that I'm driving on is relatively nice. It's not the freshly paved road, and it's not a rough road, so it's right there in the middle, but it's pretty good to test it, because most roads will be like this. So I'm hoping it can come through on the video where you guys can actually hear it, but I like it. I think it's slightly better than the V6. All right, guys, so just to wrap up, you know, this car has thoroughly impressed me. I've put about 500 miles on the engine, and you know, I'm really struggling to find a negative or a con for this car. I mean, the price is what it is, right? I mean, you get the car. I think it's a great value for what you're paying. It's right below the premium level mid-size sedans, which would be, I don't know, the 5 Series and the Audis and all that stuff. But honestly, I'm 40 years old. I've had 5 cars in my life, and this is easily the best car I've driven. Now, just to give you a quick recap, I've had a 2003 Mazda pickup, stick shift, completely underpowered. That was followed by a 2005 Toyota Camry LE, which actually was probably the quietest and probably most comfortable car I've driven. Then I had a 2016 Mazda 6. That was also a 6-speed manual, but you know, at 184 horsepower, I think that was way underpowered, even though it was a great car. Then I had the 2017 Accord Touring, the V6, which I really liked, and again, that's been replaced by this 2018 2.0 Turbo. And I mean, check this out. This is on a 100-mile stretch here in the mountains, 34.5 mpg. So, you know, if you guys here on the East Coast, you know, I'd invite you to come out here to Virginia or North Carolina and get the car out here on the Blue Ridge Parkway and just see what it can do for you, because I've had a blast. I mean, it takes all the tight turns and curves pretty confidently, even in the long open stretches. And man, if you're trying to pass up somebody, you press on that gas, man, it just zooms past the other person. And that V6 that I had, even though it did have that that push, it wasn't to the extent that this turbo is. So that has really impressed me. And again, you know, in this segment, lots of great cars. You got the Camry, Mazda 6, Altima, Fusion. You know, you can't really go wrong these days. The Sonata, all these cars in 2018 are pretty packed, and they get bigger, badder than ever with each subsequent generation. But think about this. I mean, this is the 10th generation Honda Accord, right? You know, I don't think there's a day that goes by where I don't see a fourth generation. And, you know, if they release a new model every 5 years, that was 30 years ago. You know, some of you guys are in your 20s, those cars are older than you. And so, you know, you got to put your faith in Honda that whatever car you get from them, particularly the Accord, man, it's going to be there for you. And it's, you know, that's one of the positives and probably the main reason I think I went with Honda. So again, I've been thoroughly impressed. I've liked everything I've seen so far. And again, if you guys have any questions or comments, definitely leave them down below, and look forward to hearing from you. But I appreciate you guys watching this video. Have a good one.